Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. The epic tale of the death sauce showdown at the sports bar. Picture this, macho guy boasting about conquering the Inferno wings. Challenge accepted. Inferno wings not hot enough. So I worked at a sports bar as a bouncer, barback, and food runner. I just left about a month ago and have a collection of stories from the bouncer side of things. So I would run food and barback on Monday nights at this bar, which was Endless Wings Night. You order your first basket of 12 and then can get refill orders with 4 more pieces for a couple of hours. Honestly, save for a few people, I never really saw people consume more than a couple rounds of refills per night. Anyway, on to the story. And this does take a small background. Our kitchen staff, as well as the barback who was training me, are all Hispanic, and they're absolute machines when it came to cooking and working in general. Our main barback had this little stash of death sauce in the kitchen. I was going to try and find a picture of it because it actually does look pretty cool. Anyway, the sauce comes packaged in a little coffin box. Bouncers being bouncers, one night after the club, the barback whipped out this little hidden stash of death sauce, and we immediately knew this was going to be a test of who was the manliest bouncer. We each took a toothpick at the warning of the barback not to F around with this sauce, and he gave us all a tiny, tiny little tip of a toothpick-sized drop each, and we all did cheers and had our tiny drop. Immediately, with no hesitation, one guy's just gagging. I'm trying my best poker face, acting like it's nothing, and my other coworker is the brightest shade of red in the face with eyes watering. Now the sensation I can describe it is like too hot to register. Like, you know if you've ever touched a super hot skillet with a finger, how at first it doesn't feel like anything, but you definitely know you got burned? Yeah, at first it was like that. And then the natural endorphins of pain start to flush your face, and this nearly excruciating numbness and heat start to spread around your tongue and lips. You start to drool more and eyes water, your face heats up, and breathing in air feels very hot. Water will not help and actually makes it worse. There's almost nothing you can do except grin and bear it. Even after the drive home and having done the little drop over 45 minutes ago, there's still a lingering heat and unpleasantness to it. Now on to the compliance. Our sports bar brought in a typical crowd, bar girls who were there every night with a different guy and left with another, your hip-hop dudes, a couple country folk, and of course the meathead jockey bro dudes in an extra small shirt who can't stop talking about their gym. The last on that list really wanted to test me on wing night, ordered a full 12-piece of the Inferno, which on our little menu's heat scale was at the top. He killed it, kind of bragging about how it was nothing. His waitress knows about the death sauce and is kind of asking me if I know where it is. I wasn't completely aware of this guy aside from bringing out his food, but once I saw him kill the Inferno, I knew it was game time. I walked over to clear his table and asked if he enjoyed the Inferno, kinda saying something along the lines of, "I've heard those are pretty spicy." He, of course, laughs and says those aren't anything. Then I do a total 180 and actually lean over his table, a la an aggressive salesman, and kind of cock my eyebrow and say, "You know, we got something in the back that isn't on the menu." He's hooked. He bought it and hasn't even said yes yet. I can just tell by the look in his eyes and how he smiled at the girls he was with. He asked me to bring it to him. I said, "Go ahead and place your refill order and I'll bring you a small 2-ounce dipping sauce container of it." He, of course, does an Inferno refill, and I'm waiting patiently in the prep area of the kitchen for his food to come up. I have very carefully made about a 1.5-ounce portion of this death sauce. I bring him the refill and, of course, the death sauce. I already got him the extra water and an extra side of ranch and some celery to go with it because he really doesn't understand yet, but he will. I watch him kind of eyeball the sauce and then dip a wing in it. And I kid you not, this thing is slathered in death sauce with excess dripping off the sides, and he just slams the whole little wing into his mouth and rips it up. Then something beautiful happens. He pauses, holding the bones of the wing in one outstretched hand, slows down his chewing, and this just tomato red shade starts to spread over his face. His eyes start to water. You can hear a pin drop at his table, and the server staff is gathered around. Hell, the people next to his table knew what was happening and were looking over. He kind of starts to choke a little bit and cough. His little girlfriends immediately start laughing at him, and he's now hanging his head down with his arms on the table like, why, God? Why is this happening? He didn't bother finishing the rest of the refill order or touching the death sauce again. In hindsight, I shouldn't have wasted so much. I knew only a little would do the trick. It was the most quiet I'd seen this particular D-bag in quite some time. For those who want to know how to kill hot sauce, drink milk or eat vanilla ice cream. Actually, just any ice cream, but vanilla is so satisfying with hot sauce. And our second story. All boxes must be broken down, including those inside the bin? No problem. We have a waste company in our area that sends trucks around to collect garbage and a truck to collect recycling. I have issues with this company, both at my work and at home. This is what happened a few months ago at work that carried over to home. Like many people, I get a lot of Amazon packages, and as such, I have a lot of Amazon boxes. I almost always break them down, fold them in half, and do whatever I can to fit them all in the recycle bin. A giant 30-gallon container on wheels that gets lifted and dumped mechanically into the compactor area of the truck. Except this one time I had 6 boxes stuffed into each other. Think Russian nesting eggs. I set the nest of boxes next to the bin when it came time to roll it out to the road. I go to work to find the same recycling company had charged me $75 because my dumpster bin was overstuffed. Along with the email notice of the charge, they sent pictures. Picture of one box partially hanging out of the lid. You see, if it can't fit inside the dumpster, it's overstuffed. I call and complain and get the, you got the pictures of the box hanging out? Okay, it's overstuffed. You can include the extra charge along with your monthly payment. I'm pissed, but there's nothing I can do. There's pictures. I come home that night to find the nest of boxes from the first part of the story still sitting next to the road next to my empty bin. Plastered onto my bin was a gigantic pink sticker saying that my boxes weren't picked up because they weren't broken down, and next time my entire bin would be skipped. Boxes need to be broken down even if inside the bin, and if they don't fit, then they're placed next to the bin. The guy had to get out of the truck to write on this sticker, then plaster it to my bin. Why couldn't he just get out and throw the nest of boxes into the compactor with everything else? I don't care why. This guy's lazy. I hatch a plan. For the next 3 weeks, I keep all my boxes broken down in my garage in piles. Yes, piles. Of every box. Cereal boxes, yep. Shoe boxes, yep. Tampon, not mine, boxes, yep. Even the beloved Amazon boxes. I even bring home bulky boxes from work. Fry boxes, glassware boxes, any box that will reasonably fit in my Jeep, and then I put approximately 100 broken down boxes next to my recycle bin next to the street. But I wasn't done. I shingled them around the bin so that it looked like some weird cardboard teepee with the recycle bin in the center. After all, they didn't say how they should be put next to the bin. Next morning, I hear the truck coming down the road, and I see him stop now in front of my bin. He's on the radio, and then he moves his truck so that the camera on the bumper is able to take a clear picture of my bin. He repositions his truck and gets back on the radio for about a minute or so. Then he gets out of the truck and begins loading the boxes into the compactor of the truck. I wish I could say I waved or said hi, but no, I kept hidden behind my curtains, giggling to myself while watching all the extra work I'd caused because he wouldn't make the effort to pick up 6 boxes. Besides, I may be an a-hole, but I'm not 100% a jerk. How can they charge you extra for pickup without picking it up? Either charge you to pick it up or just drive away. And our next story. My boss tried to tell me I couldn't take breaks. The company policy handbook, which I had signed and thus became a binding contract by state law, laid out lunch and or breaks based on length of shift scheduled for. When I pointed this out, she switched to scheduling me by myself and then strolling by the store to check up on me occasionally, writing me up when she caught me having closed the store in order to take breaks and eat lunch. Called her boss, regional director, and complained, got the write-ups removed, listened to her tell my boss to chill the F out and let me take my breaks. She still didn't do it. Further formal complaints resulted in no charges. I knew there was a quarterly conference call coming up, so I developed the habit of walking into her office and saying, "It's time for my break," and making her say every time that I wasn't allowed to go. She got in the habit of doing it kind of absent-mindedly in an increasingly aggressive tone. So then I did it again in the middle of the conference call, and she blew a gasket, ranting at me about how many times she told me that I was not allowed to take breaks under any circumstances, etc. The call, which she always put on speakerphone, went dead silent. It took her about 5 seconds to realize what she'd just done. And then, before she could try to begin damage control, her boss politely cleared her throat and said, "Boss, I've told you before that that is incorrect." I grinned a big old crap-eating grin and went back to work, and there was a temporary manager from another store there the next day. Turns out she had my formal written complaints intercepted before they got to her boss, which I wasn't aware was possible. Apparently, she had friends in high places. So I imagine that didn't go well for her. Wow, talk about a power move at the workplace. That's some next-level office drama. It's like a soap opera meets corporate warfare. Kudos to you for navigating that sticky situation like a pro. Standing up for your rights, exposing the shady dealings, and getting the upper hand during a conference call? That's workplace justice served on a silver platter. It's like you turned the tables on your boss and left her scrambling. The real question is, did she learn her lesson, or did she just find a new way to be sneaky? Keep fighting the good fight. And our last story. Entitled neighbor is angry I'm using my parking space. My 30-year-old female, husband, 27-year-old male, and I live in a closed street of small houses. Each house has a parking spot, plus most people owning more than one car park in parallel in front of the house. We didn't own a car because we both worked from home and hate driving, plus public transport here is not so bad. We have a neighbor who owns 3 cars, so obviously he has no space to park them all at his house. He asked our next-door neighbor, we can call him Entitled Neighbor or EN, if he could park outside of her house. She also doesn't drive, and she said yes, but EN, in order to not block his other car, parks all the way in front of my driveway. To be honest, I wouldn't have minded if he'd asked, but the fact that he just does it annoys me. Also, my family comes to visit often, and they come by car. He usually is blocking, and we have to ask him to move, and every time he gets mad as if we were asking for a favor. Anyway, I got a nice promotion that involved in-person work 3 times a week, so we decided it was time to get a car. We bought a nice, practical one and got it in our parking space. Well, next morning, the guy was blocking my exit. I rang his doorbell like crazy. It was 6 a.m., and when he finally came out, I asked him to move and to not park there anymore. He got defensive and said that my neighbor let him park in front of her house, to which I answered, yes, but this is my house. If you block my entrance again, I'm going to have to remove your car. He moves, and the next day he's blocking again. We realized he left the car open, so we let the handbrake loose and pushed the car to the middle of the street in front of his driveway. I put a note on his windshield saying, next time it's a tow truck, put tape over his doorbell so it continues ringing, and I left as quickly as I could. He hasn't said anything, but he hasn't parked there anymore. That's awesome. Way to handle the problem. He'll think long and hard before blocking your driveway again. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.